best episode ever. Well, Katy is Katy Perry. Go.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about season 5 episode 15, which is an episode that features one of the most delusional catfish victims that I've ever seen, and I guarantee you that by the end of this video you will definitely agree with me that this man is delusional. Without wasting any time, I'm just gonna get right into it because I don't want this video to be super long. So the episode starts off with Nev and Max reading an email from Spencer, who lives in Tennessee and claims that he has been in a relationship, or rather he's been talking to a girl named Katy for 6 years now. He says that they speak as much as humanly possible, but his email is kind of weird. It's kind of like dropping little signs of everything that's going wrong without really making it clear for us, you know what I mean? Even the guys agree that the email is not very clear, and so they hop on a video call with Spencer to really get to the bottom of this. So on this video call, Spencer says that this is gonna be their best episode ever because the girl that he's been talking to is none other but the one, the only Katy Perry.
Best episode ever. Because I've been talking to her top star goddess for 6 years. Well, Katy is Katy Perry. Go.
Come on now. Come on. The guys laugh, and honestly so did I, because what do you mean you're talking to Katy Perry and you've been talking to her for 6 years and you've never video called? Come on.
Okay, but you understand how it's one of the most ridiculous things we've probably ever heard.
So at the time of the making of this episode, Katy was actually in a relationship. And this was the one thing that Spencer kept holding on to, I guess. I guess he thought that they weren't video calling because obviously Katy's in a relationship and, you know, that might ruin things in her current relationship. I really don't know what is going on in this man's mind. I'm just trying to make it make sense, but it really isn't gonna make any sense. They ask him how sure he is that this is Katy Perry, and he says he's really sure because Katy has shared with him stories from her childhood, stories that only Katy Perry would know, and honestly this is ridiculous.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I fully believe I'm in a virtual relationship with Katy Perry, where do you fall on that scale?
Like 1,000.
This is ridiculous because if you're saying that these are stories that only Katy would know, this means that they're probably not, you know, publicized maybe on blogs, on tabloids, magazines, whatever, and that basically just means this girl could be making it up. Spencer says that he wants to finally meet up with Katy so they can clear everything up once and for all, but he says that he's 100% sure that the girl that he's talking to is Katy Perry. He says they've spoken on the phone just once, but he fully believes that this is Katy Perry. Nobody believes this, nobody's buying this, and if you right now think that Spencer is onto something, then you might just be even more delulu than he is. So the guys then head over to Tennessee where Spencer is to get again the full story of this whole complicated mess. Spencer says that Katy is funny and smart and they really have a great time together whenever they're talking. I guess they met on some app, and while they do communicate on that app and on Messenger, they also communicate a lot via email. And Spencer says that he also has a Canadian number for her, which is the number that I guess they've spoken on one time. And he also says that what makes him even, you know, further convinced that this is Katy Perry is that she has shared with him numerous songs of hers prior to their release. So unreleased songs, he has had access to that beforehand. I mean, this would pretty much convince anybody. Like if right now somebody sent me a song, like Drake's song, and they said this is an unreleased song, well, maybe not now because of AI, but I think, you know, at that time, if somebody was to send me like Drake's song or, you know, somebody else's song, and it was unreleased, and I searched the media, I searched YouTube, I searched every site that I could think of, and this song was truly not there, then maybe I could buy that I'm talking to either Drake or somebody in his circle, you know what I mean?
She shared some songs with me, some music before they even were released.
You guys read a bunch of my songs that are unreleased. If they were really unreleased tracks from her, wouldn't they
Part of the fun for her was keeping me kind of guessing.
Spencer and Katy have also said that they love each other numerous of times, which even led to Spencer using 25% of his savings to make Katy a ring. So Nev and Max, after getting the full story from Spencer, head off to investigate, and obviously like me, you, and everybody else who's not Spencer, they can pretty much tell already straight off the bat that Spencer is not talking to Katy Perry. Whoever he's talking to is just not Katy Perry.
There's no way it's Katy Perry.
Basically, Spencer's getting played, but he's too delusional to see it. They start the investigation by searching the number that Spencer has for Katy, and indeed it comes up as a number from Calgary, Alberta, which is in Canada. Then they decide to search up her email address. The email address then comes up as belonging to a girl named Harriet from England, and Nev thinks she's hot.
You got a hit, Harriet. Wait, but this girl's hot.
Nev says she's hot. I mean, she is. She is. They then take Harriet's name, they search it up on Facebook, and you know, as it would, her pictures pop up, her profile pops up, and all her other posts pop up. And the guys are, they're so attracted to Harriet. Maybe not too much, but like, ooh.
Hello. She's cute. She's pretty. She's really pretty.
On Facebook, we get to see that Harriet is actually originally from Canada, but now lives in England. Her Facebook seems real, and she posts a lot about Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. You know, she's a huge fan of both ladies. They also go through a couple of her comments and come across a girl named Amy who had commented on one of her posts, so they decided to reach out to Amy, as they usually do. So their investigation was pretty easy. It was straightforward. They didn't come across any hurdles, and they already came into this knowing that there's no way Spencer was talking to Katy Perry, and clearly Katy Perry was not doing much to hide that she's not really Katy Perry, because all the guys had to do was like search up her number, search up her email address, and boom, there you have it. Harriet, everybody. So they go back to Spencer to give him, you know, some feedback. When they get back to Spencer, Spencer's actually with his brother, who has absolutely no clue what Spencer has been up to. As you can imagine, as soon as Spencer tells him what he's been up to, who he's been talking to, and the ring, this guy is gobsmacked. He's just shocked, because let's be real, this is a whole lot of information to process in one sitting, especially when it's all coming at you all at once. You know what I mean? So his reaction was pretty much how I think anybody would react. He was shocked. He was shocked. But then, you know, he said, okay, you're my brother. I'm glad that you've been talking to somebody for 6 years. And I wish you all the best. However this goes, I wish you all the best. But he too agrees with Nev and Max and the rest of us that this is too incredible to be true. But after that, you know, he leaves and leaves Nev, Max, and Spencer to do their thing. The guys ask Spencer again about his confidence level that he's talking to Katy Perry. And this man says it's at 1,000. I don't know what to say to Spencer. I don't know what I would say to anybody in Spencer's position. And I definitely don't know how I would react if I was in this position, you know, in Nev and Max's position. But I'd probably react more like Max, who is really just trying to wake this guy up. But Spencer, he's a deep sleeper. He's not getting it. So they tell him all about what they've found. They tell him about the number, then they tell him about the email, and Spencer says, I've never heard of a Harriet. They go over to her Facebook and they show him all the posts about Lady Gaga and Katy Perry, and Spencer musters up the courage to say that Katy Perry actually despises Lady Gaga. Katy Perry doesn't like Lady Gaga, and this is definitely not who I've been talking to, because Katy hates Lady Gaga. He was 100% sure. He was more convinced at this stage than he was at the beginning that this is Katy Perry, because yeah, Katy hates Lady Gaga and this girl's posting about Lady Gaga, so in his mind there's no way possible that these two could be the same person.
You want me to announce that? Like, a lot of the conversation was dissing on Lady Gaga.
Max was really tickled throughout this entire session, which honestly, he's just like me, because I don't know how anybody would be able to keep a straight face in the same room with Spencer, man. Because Spencer, they're really trying their hardest to show Spencer that, man, you're not talking to Katy Perry, and he's really not buying it. You know, they're bringing evidence now that this girl is Harriet and not Katy, and he's still not buying it. Well, towards the end, he says that, you know, he seems hurt. He seems like his confidence level has gone down a bit, but I could just tell from his body language, despite what he was saying, I could tell from his body language that he was still 1,000% on board. He was still thinking that he's gonna get this opportunity to meet, you know, Katy Perry. And in all honesty, I genuinely think that Spencer approached Catfish not thinking that, you know, they're gonna uncover this mystery of who's behind the Katy Perry profile, but rather that they were gonna sponsor this romantic meet up between himself and Katy Perry, which is why he was, you know, even at the beginning he was super confident about how this is going to be their best episode ever, simply because of that. I mean, it's definitely up there with the best episodes, but not for the reasons that he thought it would be. Unfortunately, Spenzy. So this is going to be an international case. Of course, they had to go to England to meet Harriet, and Spencer was like, sure, why not, let's go over to England. And so the boys flew all the way to England. So before they fly over to England, the next day we get a little Spencer cam, and Spencer tells us that he has been listening to Katy's songs. He's been going through his playlist, listening to Katy's songs, and he just feels like there are a lot of hidden messages within Katy's songs that Katy purposely planted in the songs for him to find. Like, Katy left those messages, those, you know, Easter eggs there for him to find, and he's now even more convinced that he's gonna go meet Katy Perry.
I've gone back and listened to some of her songs in the last album. All of them have little bits of lyrics that are clues to me, but I figured it out. I'm fully 100% confident it's Katy.
This Harriet girl, non-factor. Max just tries so hard this entire episode to knock some sense into Spencer, but honestly, sometimes you just have to let it go. You just have to let it go and just watch, because Spencer is clearly just, you know, he's far gone. He's far gone. You just let him be. Let him be. When they get to London, UK, they find that Amy has written back to them. They hop on a call with her, and Amy reveals that Harriet is actually her ex-girlfriend, and Harriet is 100% gay. There's no, like, she's not bisexual, she is 100% into girls. The guys tell her where they are, and they tell her to tell Harriet where they'll be staying so that Harriet can come and meet up with them. And sure enough, the call ends. But guess what? After this call, Spencer is now even more convinced that he's talking to Katy Perry, and that there's no way that the girl he's been talking to is gay. Whoever's close to Spencer now needs to check up on him, because I'm concerned. I know this happened years ago, but I'm concerned that this man is still going around telling people that he once had, you know, Katy Perry's phone numbers, he once had Katy Perry's email, and they used to chat and they were in love. After a while, they get a call from reception telling them that, you know, somebody's here for them, and surprise, surprise, it's Harriet. Like, we were not expecting it to be anybody else. It's Harriet. It's not Katy Perry, Spencer. Harriet basically admits to everything. She tells them that she's been the one talking to Spencer for the last 6 years, but she's very weird because she's like giggly and, you know, like laughing, chuckling, whatever. And it's weird because you're looking at somebody who you've been deceiving for the last 6 years. We would expect you to be a bit more serious and genuine, but I get that maybe some people, you know, when they're nervous, they laugh a bit, so maybe that's it. But next time, just be serious. Stop smiling. Stop being all giddy and giggly. This is not a joke. Especially seeing how much you've affected Spencer, because Spencer is now trapped in that world of delusion that you've created. So the least you could do is be serious and genuine. She says she knew so much about Katy because she was really a super fan at the time. So she was able to, you know, tell him all these things that she knew were going to be backed up by, like, maybe a new song coming up in like the next 2 days, or a blog post, or an interview that Katy had. I mean, as fans, sometimes you know these things, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just know these things, but Spencer bought it. Spencer was still not buying that Harriet is the person behind the Katy Perry account, because he then asked, where did we meet? Harriet says, on the app, and Spencer whispers over to Max, it's not her.
It's not her.
It can't be her. At this point, they're fed up with Spencer. Honestly, I would be too. So they ask Harriet to please pop Spencer's bubble, bring him back to Earth, you know. So Harriet starts trying to think of like facts that only Katy could know, I guess. So she's bringing up all these different facts, and then Spencer's like, Okay, what are the names of our children that that we've spoken about?
It was Laika, Luca, something else.
Harriet gets 2 of those names correct. I guess there were 3 kids, and Harriet gets 2 of them correct and the last one wrong. And Spencer automatically thinks, oh, she got the last one wrong. She's not Katy. She's not the one that I've been talking to. It's not her. Like Spencer, Nev and Max even, yell at him at this point that, she doesn't remember because to her, this was not important. She didn't care about this. You remember because it was so important to you. But she didn't care. She really didn't care. And on top of that, she's not even into you because she's into girls. So like, come the fuck on, Spencer. Come the fuck on. But even after this, Spencer is still, convinced. He's like, Katy's a very funny person. This is a prank. I know that she would get a kick out of this. And everybody's had enough at this point. So they all adjourn and they're like, we'll just meet up tomorrow to wrap this whole thing up. So the next day again, Max asks Spencer, on a scale from 1 to 10, how sure are you that the girl that you're talking to is Katy Perry? And now Spencer says that it is a 1, which is a lot of progress, because he's been saying 9, 10, 1,000%, 100% this entire episode. So I'm glad that he's finally, pulled himself toward himself. He says he's not so convinced that he's talking to Katy anymore, and I couldn't be happier. Nev and Max drive out to go meet up with Harriet and talk to her a little bit, and today we get to see a more genuine side to her than the giggly, giddy person we met yesterday. She explains that she was really young when she created this account, and at the time she really, really, really wanted to be Katy Perry, which explains why she had access to all this information. She knew a lot because she aspired to be Katy. She also explains that she was shocked that Spencer believed she was Katy, but after a while she realized that if he can believe this, he'll pretty much accept anything, and that is why she kept it going for so long. It was kind of comforting to kind of have that person that she believed would believe anything that she had to say, basically. They then take Harriet over to meet up with Spencer, and Harriet apologizes to Spencer, and they have this warm, heartfelt conversation, which I truly believed was genuine. I believe that both parties left the conversation satisfied with how the whole thing went. But boy, was I wrong. 2 months later, we get on a call with Spencer. Spencer says that on a scale from 1 to 10, he is now on a 0. He's not believing that he's talking to Katy Perry anymore, and yeah, they haven't spoken. He has tried to reach out to to Harriet, but Harriet has not written back, and that wraps up the call. Then they call Harriet, who tells them that everything's been going well, but she's been receiving some weird emails from Spencer. She says after the guys left, Spencer sent her an email. Sent Katy an email saying, I met up with this girl, she was pretending to be you, clear things up for me, what is going on? So clearly Spencer still believed he was talking to Katy Perry. So they're like, girl, we have to call Spencer back, and they confront Spencer, who then explains to them that, hey, look, it was a few days after you guys had left, and at that point I was still convinced that I was talking to Katy, but I'm now convinced that I was not talking to Katy, and I since haven't reached out to Harriet. But I'm willing to bet that he did reach out to Katy, not Harriet, to Katy, probably like a minimum of 5 times after that. I'm willing to bet. But that pretty much wraps up the episode. That brings us to the end of this entire Delulu episode. Woo! Spencer was so frustrating. Watching this episode was kind of tickling, but frustrating at the same time, and also kind of saddening, because the reality is Spencer bought into the lie too much. I think it kind of blurred the lines for him a little bit. He bought into it so much, and at some point he was so immersed in this delusion that he couldn't see things clearly the way everybody else was seeing it. And it also goes to show that catfishing does not, we already know that catfishing has a lot of effects. The effects are not just surface level. It's a lot, because these people are bearing their hearts and souls to whoever could be deceiving them. But now with Spencer, I think it also did something to his psyche. I'm not sure, I'm not a psychologist, but I really hope he got help after this. He should have went to therapy or something, because if he really bought into this much, he needed somebody to like snap him out of it. I don't know, in a deeper way than what Max tried to do. Okay, but let me know what you think about this entire episode and what you think about Spencer. Do you think he's still reaching out to Katy? Do you think he's still holding on to this idea or belief that he once spoke to Katy Perry? What do you think it is? What do you think? What it is? What's up? Yeah, but that brings us to the end of this video as well. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.